Okay, so picture this, a factory and a post office all rolled into one. Now shrink that thing down 100,000 times and stick it inside pretty much every single cell in your body. That's what we're going to dive into today, one of the most vital and honestly kind of underappreciated little marvels of biology.
It's not a trick question. Think about it. Every single one of your cells is like this bustling little city, right? It's constantly making stuff, shipping it out, getting packages in. So how does anything get to the right place at the right time? Well, the answer is that every cell has its own tiny, super efficient post office.
And here it is, the star of our show, the Golgi apparatus. Yeah, I know, it kind of just looks like a stack of pancakes. But functionally, oh, it's the cell's central hub for pretty much everything: processing, packaging, and shipping. It's that post office and a master workshop all rolled into one. So to really get a handle on how this amazing little machine works, let's take a tour. Come on, we're going inside, and you'll see, just like any well-run post office, it's got a super clear, logical workflow. There are different departments for everything: receiving, processing, and of course, shipping. I mean, this whole operation is just so organized. So packages, we're talking mostly proteins and lipids. They arrive from a nearby factory called the ER. They come in at what's called the sys face. That's basically the receiving dock. From there, they move on through the medial region. You can think of that as the main processing floor. And then finally, once everything's good to go, they're shipped out from the transface, which is the exit. So, when you boil it all down, it's really just a simple but pretty elegant three-step journey for every single package. First, it gets customized. Second, it gets sorted. And third, it gets shipped. So let's break down exactly what's happening at each of those stages.
Okay, first up, customization. This is where the Golgi kind of switches hats. It stops being just a post office and becomes more like a master workshop, putting all those final, absolutely critical touches on every product that comes through.
Now here's a really key detail. The Golgi doesn't actually build these proteins from scratch. It gets them in a raw, kind of unfinished state from its neighbor, the endoplasmic reticulum, the ER. The real genius of the Golgi is in taking that raw material and transforming it into a finished, fully functional product.
And you can see that transformation right here. A raw protein comes in, and it might be all unstable and shapeless. But as it travels through the Golgi, these little enzymes get to work. They fold it into its perfect 3D shape and start adding these special tags, like little sugar chains. This whole process, by the way, is called glycosylation, and it's incredible. Not only does it make the protein stable and ready to do its job, but that little sugar chain, that's the address label. It tells the cell exactly where this thing needs to go.
And let's be super clear here. This isn't just for decoration. This is huge. Without this critical modification step, so many of the proteins our bodies absolutely rely on would be totally useless. It's a fundamental process for, creating a working biological machine.
All right, so our packages are now perfectly customized. What's next? Well, they gotta be sorted. This is step 2, and this is where the Golgi puts its post office hat back on and becomes a pure logistics hub.
This all goes down in a special area right at the exit of the Golgi called the Trans-Golgi Network, or TGN for short. This is where those sugar chains we were just talking about get read, like a molecular zip code. This ensures that every single protein is sent to its correct final destination. It is an incredibly precise operation.
So where are all these packages actually headed? Well, there are a few common destinations. Some are sent to the lysosomes. That's the cell's recycling and waste disposal center. Others get shipped to the plasma membrane to become part of the cell's outer wall. And a whole lot of them are packaged for secretion, which means they get sent completely outside the cell to communicate with other cells or even build new tissues.
And that brings us to the final step: shipping and delivery. The products are perfectly customized, they've been sorted, they have a precise address label on them. Now, the Golgi just has to get them out the door and on their way. So how does it do that? Well, the Golgi packages its finished products into these tiny little transport bubbles called vesicles. They're made of membrane, and they literally just butt off from the exit side of the Golgi, carrying their precious cargo through the cell to wherever they need to go.
And get this, the Golgi even has 2 different delivery speeds. First, you've got what's called constitutive secretion. Think of this like the daily standard mail route, just a steady, continuous stream of packages. A great example is the cells in your airways that are always producing mucus. But then there's regulated secretion. This is like a special priority overnight delivery. It only happens when a very specific signal is received, like your pancreas releasing a burst of insulin only after you've eaten a meal.
Okay, so we've seen how incredibly efficient this whole system is when it's working right. But to really truly appreciate how important it is, we have to think about the alternative. What happens when a package gets lost? What happens when the sales post office just fails?
Well, the consequences are pretty severe. A breakdown in the Golgi isn't just some minor inconvenience. It's like a citywide postal strike where absolutely nothing gets delivered. Essential messages stop, repairs don't get made, waste starts piling up. The entire cellular city can just grind to a halt.
And on a biological level for us, the results can be devastating. When the Golgi doesn't modify proteins correctly, it can lead to certain congenital disorders and really serious developmental issues. What's even scarier is that in diseases like cancer, a faulty Golgi that messes up the sorting process can actually help tumor cells break away and spread through the body.
So when you look at the big picture, the Golgi apparatus is just a masterpiece of microscopic engineering. It's this silent, tireless little worker that makes sure the fundamental business of life actually gets done. And remember, it's just one tiny piece of the incredible, complex city that's inside every single one of your cells. Which kind of makes you wonder, right? What other hidden marvels are humming away, keeping you alive right this very second?